My ex-mother-in-law sent her church friends to harass my daughters, so I exposed her lies. And now she's shunned. Hey Reddit. Buckle up because this one is a wild ride. I, 46F, have two daughters, 17 and 15, who have a very strained relationship with my ex-husband's parents, 78M and 80F. My ex passed away in an accident last year, and his death unearthed a mess. Turns out, he'd been cheating on me for years. Not only that, but he had two sons with his affair partner, who also died, leaving the boys orphaned. Since then, my ex-in-laws have been relentless. First, they're trying to get custody of my daughters. We're in court over that. Second, they've been pushing for the boys to move in with us. That will never happen. Where we live, there's a weekend farmers market, fresh produce, meats, homemade goodies. This past weekend was extra special because it was my youngest daughter's birthday. Since her actual party is later this month, I gave her a budget and let her go wild. After about an hour, I started getting worried. Just as I was about to call her, she called me, crying. My eldest daughter and I ran to find her, and there she was, cornered by 6 older women who were berating her for being unchristian. Why? Because she refuses to spend time with her grandparents and doesn't want to be a good big sister to her father's affair children. Mind you, my daughters were the ones who discovered their father's affair in the first place. They're in therapy because of it. Expecting them to just embrace his children? Absolutely not. I immediately stepped in, told my eldest to take her sister's things and head to the car. Then I turned to these women, some of whom I recognized from my ex-in-law's church, and let them have it. They fired back, saying I was a terrible person for not obeying my ex-in-laws like a good Christian wife. Barf. The argument got so heated that we were all asked to leave the market. And as I walked away, these women followed me like vultures. I barely got in the car before they started banging on my window. That night, after my daughters went to bed, I reached out to a mutual acquaintance from the church. He apologized profusely, and then told me what was really happening. My ex-mother-in-law had posted an entire sob story in the church's Facebook group. According to her, my daughters and I are heartless and left them homeless and penniless, even though they inherited my ex's personal savings and life insurance. We're refusing to care for my ex's orphan children. My daughters don't even talk to them. Oh, and apparently I only rejected the boys because they're male. Oh, and here's the kicker. Since their church is extremely strict about cheating, she couldn't admit that my ex had an affair. So what did she do? She straight up lied and told everyone that the affair partner was actually our surrogate. Excuse me. Since my divorce wasn't finalized before my ex died, I still had all the receipts, and no legal consequences for exposing them. So, I went to a print shop and had high-quality copies made of photos of my ex and his affair partner in our home, screenshots of their texts, messages where his parents acknowledged and supported his cheating, texts where my ex-in-laws harassed me during the divorce, and the pièce de résistance, a text where they called my daughters bastards and blamed them for their father's death, just 2 days after he died. I spent hours putting all of this into beautifully bound binders that look just like the hymn books the church hands out. The first page, a crystal clear picture of my ex and his mistress making out in our living room, with the caption, Jerry and Susan, a love story. Then, I went to church early Sunday morning and casually left these binders on the table with the real hymn books. No one ever checks them. By the time service started, the gossip mill was on fire. The Facebook group, exploding. Church members were furious. Even the pastor had to step in to keep things from getting too explicit. People were horrified by how my ex-in-laws treated my daughters. But what absolutely killed me was that, while they still thought I was wrong for wanting a divorce, they now believed it was understandable given my shock and suffering. Unlike my faithless ex and his Jezebel. And yes, they actually called her that, though they apparently used an even worse word. I even received 2 apology letters for my daughters, and an invitation to rejoin the church for support. Laugh my ass out, no thanks. As for my ex-in-laws, they were shamed out of the church. My ex-mother-in-law made a bitter Facebook post about how she feels alienated, and how no one cares for the elderly anymore. She even wrote, "If only my great son were still alive, he would have taken care of us." With what money? I was the breadwinner, not him. Oh, and in case anyone is wondering, my ex had lied about his will. He always told me he had left everything to our daughters, but it turns out he actually left everything to his parents. I never fought to be the beneficiary myself, because my own will is set up to go directly to my daughters. But in the end, none of that even matters. They tried to destroy my girls, and now, their own community has cast them out. Some might call it karma. I just call it justice.